Hey guys, I'm back in action. We didn't do a lot last week because we had the sketch show, which went pretty well. Um, Following hilarity. So I thought I'd come back this week. I also had to take a break from, my story with Anna and all that stuff. After the Bridgeworks video, I haven't done a follow up on that. Not gonna do that today. Not gonna do that today. Got other things going on. Anna's actually working from home today for her job, so we're going to spend some time together because that's what couples do. That's what we do. So in lieu of that, though, so we had something on the channel. I figured I would go ahead and, since She-Hulk is completed now, I thought I would go ahead and do a She-Hulk review. Like a full review of the whole series itself. I kind of ranted a little bit yesterday on Facebook about this finale, but that was most of my initial watch, and now that I've had a chance to kind of think on it, I can think more clearly and, say more eloquent thoughts. And I know that, for some people, they'll immediately be like, oh, here's some straight cisgender white guy complaining about She-Hulk. And that's not the case here. I'm not one of those people who bullies people online or anything like stupid like that, because those people are cowards. I'm an actor and a writer myself, and a comic book fan, obviously, but so my critiques are more of, what I've seen for myself personally. My critique is only for me. Just like anybody's critique should be their own critique. It shouldn't be like, well, these other people said this, so I have to go along with this. Do feel whatever you want. It's just like anything else. People are allowed to not like things, and people are allowed to absolutely love things. That is totally A-okay. And you should be bullied for neither one. But at the same time, unlike a lot of those people the trolls or whatever, that were, review bombing the show before the show even premiered, those people are stupid and losers and need to get a life. So for that, I'll give She-Hulk credit for making fun of them. Because, yeah, those people are losers. Because most of those people probably either watched the first episode and then didn't watch anything else, or didn't watch it at all, just went by what they figured it was going to be. So that's why I think that, at least I can say that I stuck with the whole show. I watched every freaking episode. Luckily, they were pretty short, so they went by quick. So that was good, too. But, as someone who stuck with 8 seasons of Arrow, I've seen bad shit before, and I've seen good shit before. So I've seen shows deteriorate, I've seen shows get better, whatever the case. So I lived through all of Felicity, people, so I can take about anything. So when you know that, I didn't stop watching when fucking Felicity was at its highest fucking level. I mean, I definitely hate watched at that point, but much like American Horror Story. But anyway, I thought I would just kind of go over the good and the bad of the show. And I also realized I never did a Moon Knight review. I think I maybe mentioned that I watched it and liked it, but I never really did a review. So I'll just say that I really liked Moon Knight, and it was really good. And you should watch it. And Werewolf by Night, excellent. Special. Love it. So anyway, Man Thing. Let's talk about what was good about the show. And I know there's a lot of people that, there's nothing good about the show. It's like, there were moments. There were good moments. I've mentioned them probably previously in other little quick videos, but they're good. Okay, in terms of the cast is pretty solid overall. I recognize the guy who played Pug. He was actually the villain on season 5 of Arrow, so sticking with the comic book genre. He didn't have much of a role on this show, but he was serviceable. Her friend was fine. She didn't have a whole lot of a character arc either. But I think in terms of this show, I don't blame a lot of the acting as far as the problem goes. And a lot of times there can be some situations when you're watching movies or TV shows where you can absolutely say, oh my God, these actors are horrible. But I can't say that about this show. I cannot say that. Tatiana Maslany is a great actress. If you need proof of that, watch Orphan Black. So there's no denying that. Mark Ruffalo is fine. He's a good actor when he's there. Tim Roth, obviously Charlie Cox as Daredevil. I really, really enjoyed the last week's episode. So like I said, the acting is fine. For what they're given to work with, the acting is fine. Some of the comedy worked. I will say that. Some people say, no, none of it was funny. Some of the comedy worked. I really enjoyed the Mr. Immortal thing. I actually wish they did more with it. Like, I wish that, like, you know, they had the thing where they jumped out the window, and like they should have just had him do it a couple times. Like, just at least 2 more times, get the rule of 3 in there, you know. Have him kill himself a different way, you know, don't jump out the window this time, you know. And just, because that plays into his character. Have you ever read the, you know, not Young Avengers, Great Lakes Avengers? That's kind of his character. He's a miserable person because he's been around forever, because he's immortal. You know. So it's like, I liked that. Some parts of the getaway thing, not getaway, was it? The recreation thing that Tim Roth's character was doing, you know, with all the other weird little characters. Some of that was okay. Had some moments that were amusing, but it was largely just kind of like, okay, that was there. The wedding episode wasn't bad. That was the same episode as Mr. Mortal. There was some fun parts there, I thought. Let's see. Like I said, the Daredevil episode was probably the best episode, honestly. Although I did enjoy the Juan one with Madison. I thought that was actually pretty funny. I actually liked the Donnie Blaze character, and then his like his assistant or whatever. That like this guy's like 100 years old or something like that. So it's like oldest actor to ever be in the MCU. But I thought he was great. They all start pulling magic tricks out in the car. That was actually funny. I actually did like that. I did laugh at that. So credit there. So I don't think that like all the writers are horrible at comedy. I think there's definitely some talent there. But I also feel, as I'll get into the negatives, that there's problems on the other side of things. The fights themselves were never really that great. The CGI... I was staying with the good, right? That's right. It was short. I never felt like I was spending too much time where I'm like, oh, is this over yet? You know, at least there's that, right? But no, I don't think that it was. I think there were some good ideas in here that could have been explored better. Even to go into the last episode, so spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched it. They had a great opening, which was a nice homage to the original Incredible Hulk series with the narration and all that. I thought that was cute. That was funny. I enjoyed that. Well done. No issues with that. I thought there was some good... some of the characters of the week are like the guy was the frog guy, you know, in the last episode of Daredevil episode there was funny. I liked that guy. That was funny. I feel like the characters... It's interesting. They actually consulted an actual lawyer for that last episode, the next to last episode, the Daredevil episode, and it showed in the courtroom scene because stuff actually felt like a legitimate thing as opposed to the rest of the stuff. Some of the stuff that they had Tatiana do, or I never Titania. Yeah, Titania. That's right. Well, I thought it was funny. I was kind of a little like influencer. That's kind of dumb. But I thought there was some funny moments. You know, there were little commercial things and all that with the shit. That was decent. You know. So like I said, there were some good moments. So I can't like say just like I'm not one of those people that's just gonna be like, this shit was just horrible from the minute I turned it on and da da da. It's like, no, you didn't. You probably didn't even watch it. Also, shout out to Mark Lynn Baker playing her dad from Perfect Strangers. Good to see him getting work. Because, you know, it's Mark Lynn Baker from freaking Perfect Strangers. Where's Balky at? Where's Balky? Missed opportunity. So, yeah, there we go. Those are probably the best things I can say about the show in terms of that. That there was some comedic bits that worked. It's like I said, I've told Anna this. I said it's very similar in vein to Ghostbusters 2016 because there were definitely some funny moments in that movie, and they absolutely were. That I legitimately laughed and Anna legitimately laughed, and that's the same thing with this show. There's definitely moments that like this is funny, and there's other moments where it's just like this is cringe, this is awful. So that's kind of the issue there. So let's talk about the negative. I think the problem I have with the way they went with things was that a lot of the male characters outside of her father, Pug to a point, and Daredevil were basically either assholes or total creeps or, whatever the case. Or man babies. And that just kind of gets like, okay, we're slogging on it. It's like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, for men thing. I'm just saying that, like, me personally, I know a lot of guys, being a guy and stuff. And most guys are not like these guys in the show. Yes, you have your little online trolls and stuff like that. And you have your, like, men's right idiots. But, like, most of the guys I know are genuinely good people who don't harass women or bully women online or want to smack women or anything. I know plenty of nerds, too. So it's like, I would say that portrayals of things, yes, portrayals of basement dwelling idiots, sure, no problem with that. I have no problem making fun of that. But like, I feel like it's not a good representation of like true comic book fans, I'd say, because I think that there's a lot of comic book fans who just like to enjoy and have fun. You have your diehard crazies that like, this has to be exactly like it was and every single moment, and I'm like, there's some stuff that just doesn't translate well. So I'm okay with it, but I think that's the problem with that whole thing. And they also just feel like it was a nail over the head kind of thing. And it's the thing I talked about with Candyman with a different thing, where it just wants to bang you over the head with like, fucking white people. And this one, it's fucking men. And it's just like, okay, we get it. Like, maybe some people don't get it, but like, I get it. As someone like, yes, there's a lot of horrible asshole men out there. I watched Promising Young Women. That was a great fucking movie because it was well written by a competent writer and director and great actress and a good story, and it wasn't just a man-bashing fest every 5 fucking minutes. It was well-told story. Whereas this one, it just felt like, I don't know, it just felt like they just couldn't, like, help themselves. And I heard about, like, how they, like, didn't bother to, like, consult, other than the last episode, next to last episode, obviously, consult actual people who knew how to write courtroom scenes. Let me give you a suggestion, guys. There's a lot of shows that have been on that have courtroom scenes. Law and Order, Homicide had some court scenes. Night Court, if you want to go for comedy. L.A. Law. Let's see. The show you're pretty much mimicking someone like Ally McBeal, which I didn't even really watch, but at least I'd let you know. Honestly, like I said before, I told Anna this. I said the best way they could have gone with this show was to watch Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law. Because that cartoon was kind of what they pitched, was that she'd be representing these different characters and stuff like that. And there was a little bit of that in there, but I feel like they could have done that with, like, every episode. And you could still have more with the episode. Like, they didn't have to be half an hour. But, like, you could have done, like, Night and Day, had, like, her representing these people as herself, and then, or have her representing a She-Hulk, and then go to what her life was like as Jennifer Walters. So, I think there's ways to work around some of that stuff, but I just feel like that was a missed opportunity in terms of, like, I think they could have done more with that, and I feel like they wanted to spend too much time with, like, there was a lot on her dating life, and that's fine. I don't mind that being in there. That's a lot in comic books anyway. But, like, it just felt very much, yeah. And, like, in the comics, one thing I will say is, like, she likes being She-Hulk. It gives her confidence. And, like, a lot of this was, like, her accepting She-Hulk, which is fine. I guess that's somewhat of a character growth. But it's just kind of like, I don't know. It's like, it's more because she's kind of mousy and, like, this makes her have confidence. So she actually likes being She-Hulk. Whereas in the beginning of this, she really didn't like being She-Hulk. So I'm kind of like, hey, that's a choice, whatever. But, like, some of the writing, it just felt like it was just heavy-handed and, like, and even the writers admitted that they put their own dating history in there. It's like, I'm sorry. If you're writing a play about your romantic experiences until you met the one, I can understand that. Like I've been doing with my videos of these girls that I got rejected by and all that stuff. That's fine. But, like, when you're doing a She-Hulk show, I don't really care about your personal history. Just as I wouldn't write a play about all those girls that rejected me. Like, these women were so horrible because they didn't go out with me. It's like, no, maybe it's you. Do you ever think maybe it might have been you? um, sometimes people just aren't a good fit. And yeah, sometimes people are just assholes who just want to get laid and don't really care about the person. That's true too. And I'm not saying you can't portray those type of people. Obviously you can. But it just felt like, I don't know. It's the same kind of problems I had with some of the CW shows. They would do the same things where they just wanted to like portray like, let's just show all the worst men in the world. Let's not show any nice guys. Let's not show any guys that are actually reasonable, besides Daredevil. That are decent, upstanding human beings. There's like millions of people in the fucking world. Not every goddamn guy of those millions is a fucking asshole. Just like not every woman is a horrible bitch either, or a slut or anything like that. There's lots of women who are, genuine good people and have empathy and care, and I just feel like, I don't know. So that's annoyances there. Now, as far as the last episode goes, let's get into this, because that's where I really like, because the first episode annoyed me with some of the speeching to the Hulk, who's, dad killed his mom and abused and all that, has been through a lot of shit. Watched a lot of his friends get, go away and die. But, anyway, we don't have to get into that so much. But the last episode, like I said, the opening was nice, and then it kind of just went downhill from there. Now, we've been on this whole thing. One overarching thing, besides her dating life, that we've been dealing with is that these characters were trying to steal her blood so they could take the Hulk's blood. And we had a whole thing with the Wrecking Crew in like one episode, and then a couple episodes later, one of the members is with Emil's group, and then we never hear anything about the Wrecking Crew again. So it's like they were just thrown out the fucking window, which is kind of like, well, why not just use those guys? And then, so anyway, as it comes to go, she goes to Emil's because she feels ostracized after her big rage out over them leaking basically a sex tape. And stuff like that, which is certainly a legitimate reaction to something like that. That's embarrassing and private, So I don't have a problem with her reacting to that. But like, she's dealing with all that, so she tries to go back to the compound, and then she ends up finding that he's in his abomination form, and he's giving a speech at this basically looks like a men's rights thing, and they're making all these kind of YouTube comments or message board comments like, she hasn't earned that power, and it's all the things that people say in the message boards. I've read them. Obviously, these writers read them too, because they wrote them into the freaking script. And then suddenly, like, the Hulk actually jumps out and stops there, and the other guy, that's the creepy guy that's called her a specimen in one of the episodes on the dating thing, like, injects the Hulk blood in him, and he turns into a bro Hulk or something like that. I thought he was going for Totally Awesome Hulk at first, but, and then she just like finally stops it and says, what are we doing here? And so it was cute that she jumped out of the thing and jumped out of the Disney Plus screen. And I was okay with that to a point. Because in the comics, it's been known that she will often call out the writer, the John Byrne comments, of just like, oh, this John Byrne guy, oh, this is horrible. What are we doing here? John Byrne, you're a hack, and this is why everyone thinks you're a hack. And you're like, John Byrne making fun of himself, essentially. So I thought, okay, the writers are going to make fun of themselves a little bit and take credit for some of the crap that they've been writing here and there. No, instead they just show up on camera, and it's just like, well, this is what we do in superhero shows. Not, hey, we wrote some horrible shit, let's try to get out of it. Or, hey, man, that Jessica Gal, what a horrible show. Like, taking digs at yourself is the best way of doing comedy. Take digs at yourself. I take digs at myself all the time. It's like, oh, that dumbass over there, Who dumbass wrote this sketch? I did that in the show. It's like, oh, some asshole wrote this sketch, It's like, it's humor. It's like I've mentioned on my Facebook post about, like, we had done a show called Electric Man, which is a superhero show that we did. And when we did it the second time in Seattle, I had written a bit in there just because of, Trump had just been elected in November, and there's a lot of, people not too happy about it, myself included. And so I had decided to put in a bit for a montage where Electric Man would be saving people, and then he would punch out someone who looked like Trump. Kind of a little homage to the Captain America punching Hitler thing, which Whether you want to compare those two characters or not, that's regardless. But imagine, if you will, if I did this play and every 5 minutes we keep mentioning Trump. Wouldn't that get a little old, even if you hate Trump? Wouldn't you want to be like, weren't I here to see a play? It's like, it's fine to like do a little bit of that. It's fine to put in social commentary into things and want to call out crappy men, or just crappy people, or bullies online and things like that, or toxic people like that. That's totally fine. But when it's every episode, it just gets old. And then they have this whole thing where we're talking to a robot named Kevin who has a brim on the hat, like Kevin Feige always wears a hat. That was okay, but then it was like, oh, we got to talk about daddy issues with Iron Man. And it's just like bashing all the male characters that have come before, forgetting again that if Iron Man had not been a fucking success, there would be no fucking MCU. If Avengers had not succeeded, there would be no She-Hulk show. So while I'm all for making fun of things here and there, I feel like it just feels like it's so much about, it's the same thing Disney likes to do a lot. It's what they did with Star Wars too. It's, let's go ahead and destroy this character that was popular or something that made us fucking money, by the way, and make fun of it, as opposed to just like saying, hey, yeah, we're in a superhero world and we're joking around. This is kind of silly. Okay, fine. Like I said, I've given an example. Stargirl is a much better way of handling this thing because they're goofy on that show. Their powers are goofy as fuck. There's a guy named Hour Man who literally gets power for an hour. You know, that's stupid. It's dumb, but it's fun. They treat it fun. They treat it seriously. They have fun with it. And I feel like She-Hulk could have done that. And that's, even Anna hasn't even watched it. And she saw clips and she was just like, she said, there's moments that look funny, but like, it wasn't, even from the CGI. Well, yeah, the CGI is bad. But like, that, even from that, like, she was not interested in watching the show. Think about this. We reviewed Loki. We reviewed Hawkeye. We reviewed Falcon and Winter Soldier. We reviewed WandaVision. She didn't watch Moon Knight with me. I think I started without her. So I started that one late too. So that's another reason. But like, she didn't watch Miss Marvel with me. I did my own Miss Marvel review. And she wasn't even interested in watching this after watching the trailer. Not even interested in it. Now, if this is supposed to be from the female lens, so to speak, wouldn't you think Anna, who is a very intelligent, and is liberal, and is a woman, don't you think that something from the female lens, regardless of CGI, would have drawn her in to watch the show? It did not. So that shows me that making it seem like this is just all for women and stuff like that is not really legitimate. Just like if you make a show just for men or just for a certain group, that doesn't make it like that's wholly your audience. Because, hey, like I said, I watched Never Have I Ever. I'm not an Indian teenage person. I thought the show was great. I thought it was funny. I was drawn with the characters because it was well done. And I think that's just an example there. But like, I think that they don't know their audience, so to speak, sometimes. And I don't think it's... You want to make fun of man babies and trolls and racist, misogynistic assholes, that is totally okay with me. But making them your villain of the show, making them like your focal point, it's just, I don't know, it just got tiring. Like Miss Marvel already didn't have much of a villain, and now you're not going to even have some kind of villain. It's like, there's villains you could have used. You had Titania right there. Use her. Like, do something with her. You know, you could have had something. I mean, I don't know. Or use Abomination more. I don't know. It just... Me personally, I know they were going for something different, going for a comedy, and I understand that. And I don't think it was a total failure, but I just feel like it needed... I don't know. It needed a little bit better writing to me. It needed... If you're going for comedy, it needed to be a little bit more... Just me personally, as someone who does sketch comedy and things like that, it just needed more. And I just feel like overall I was let down by the show. And it's not the end of the world. I'm not like, oh, the MCU's over. It's like, no, it's fine. It's like Thor: Love and Thunder had its problems, but it was overall fine. I liked Doctor Strange personally. I don't know when people were complaining about so much about that one. I liked it a lot. But I think it was one of those things where like I expected, when I went into that movie, I was worried about how they were going to use America Chavez. Because that character's writing recently hasn't been that great. Maybe it's changed since I read it recently, but I was worried about how Miss Marvel was going to come off. That came off okay. I've had my fears about Ironheart too, just of how that character was portrayed. But Ryan Coogler is a talented director. I think he'll handle that character well too. She-Hulk was the least character that I was worried about them fucking up, and somehow they still managed to fuck it up somewhat. Not completely, like I said, not completely, but what could have been and what was. Even if you didn't want to have a villain of the week, even if you didn't want to have a true villain, that's fine. But you needed to have more of an entertaining show. And I feel like it wasn't one of those things. Like, I watch it just kind of out of habit. Like, I've just got to get through this. And then when Daredevil shows up, that'll be cool. And it was. But, like, why set up a story, though, with this whole blood thing and then not pay it off? And I don't mean you have to pay it off in that goofy way they were doing it there. But, like, pay it off and, like, make it a major character or something. And it doesn't even have to be solved right then. She doesn't have to just beat the guy up and be done with it. Like, she could take out the man babies or something like that. But, like, have someone secretly behind it. Or what about this? Here's an even better way to go about it. Have her best friend be in on the frickin' twist. Have her best friend turn on her. That's a comic book thing. That happens a lot. Best friends turn on you. They mentioned Spider-Man No Way Home. Come on. It's like you could have, and the whole man baby thing could have just been a whole freaking facade. Like, there weren't even these man babies, they were just bots or something, Play off of that, There's ways to do that, like, and have her fight out her villains. Like, I'm tired of you, or be jealous of that. Women get jealous of each other a lot. Come on. Or, it's like that happens. Men do too. But, like, it's like men get jealous of other men too. It's a human condition. It's like women can get a little bit catty sometimes. It doesn't have to be over the top, but, like, I'm just saying there's different ways you could have handled it. And I just feel like they just went for, like, the laziest way possible. And, like, the whole going for the thing and breaking the fourth wall was fine, but just, I don't know. I didn't feel like it was executed as well as it could have been, and it also just felt like the writers just wanted to be on camera to be like, hey, we wrote this, yay, look at us. And it's like, that's something that can work if it's in a comic book form and you're making fun of yourself as a writer or a director, or if it's something like you're a well-known fucking director or showrunner or writer or whatever, and it's like, oh, look, there's Stephen King, or something like that. That works then, but, like, I'm just a showrunner that you've probably never heard of, and my biggest credit is Teen Titans Go. Not really a draw for me to see you on camera. Sorry. No offense to you personally. I hope you have a fruitful career and stuff. But yeah, whether they have another season or whether they have, a movie or some time with World War Hulk or whatever they do with it. The Scar thing was just kind of there. It's like, oh, here's my son. Oh, okay. That's a thing that happened apparently. And it's like, okay, I guess maybe we'll do something with a movie and Hulk and stuff, which would be great. But I would just say, get some better writers. Not all the writers. Some of the writers were decent. But get a couple better writers that know how to write courtroom scenes. That know how to write good comedy. That really is. And thus, comedy is subjective. I understand that. But, like, there's just certain bits that you could have done better in certain episodes. Like I said, not as a whole. Because like I said, I'm not being one of those people like, oh, everything was horrible, nothing was funny. It's like, there were some moments that were funny that I generally laughed. So I can't be one of those people like, oh, nothing was funny. It's like, no, there were genuine moments here and there. So overall, I'd say it's worth a watch in terms of it's half an hour of your life. Take it half an hour if you want it at a time. There are some good bits that have potential. There are some moments in there that have potential. I just overall wasn't pleased with it. Good moments here and there, but not a complete show. Moon Knight was great. I liked Moon Knight a lot. I had really no problems with Moon Knight. Hawkeye was solid. Also, let me just say, I've ranted about this before. But what... there's that one guy that was like, oh, she hasn't earned it and all that. No, that's a stupid line. But, like, what is wrong in storytelling with Hollywood with the hero's journey? What is wrong with that? Like, now it just has to be, I'm so awesome and I have these powers. And it's like, or you could learn things maybe be a little cocky. Being a little cocky is totally fine. You're like, oh, look at me, I got superpowers. Miss Marvel did that pretty well because she still failed a little bit. That was good. Stargirl's done that well. So it's like there's nothing wrong with the hero's journey. There's nothing wrong with a hero learning and making mistakes because that's a human thing, guys. It's just like if you go out and try out for a play, like me. You go out and try for a play, there's a good chance you're going to get rejected and not get the part. That's just part of going out for something, or whether you're going for a choir, or whether you're going to, here's some art that I want to show you. Oh, yeah, this looks like crap. Or that you fail something. And you learn from it. I did 4 years of basketball, and like, I never made the team. That's okay. I accepted it and I moved on. But like, that's the thing. I feel like there's just so much of Hollywood, and this was problems with Star Wars and things like that with the Rey character somewhat, was that it didn't feel like there was anything where like, we don't need to earn this shit. And I'm not saying earn it, but like, what's wrong with like, what's more relatable to real human beings out there? Working hard to achieve something and, you know, making mistakes along the way and learning from it, or just being handed something. Because that's basically like, you're a trust fund kid. Here you go, here's money. Do whatever you want. You know, or just like, oh, you want a championship? Let's just give everybody a championship. And it's like, I just, you know, it's basically just like, it shows very much how like, there's a sense of entitlement that comes with certain generations, I think. And I think that that's also a problem too, where like critiques now, because a lot of the generation that's out now that's dominating things is that they grew up with things like Nostalgia Critic on YouTube or other reviewers like that, where they see these reviewers and they see them kind of mocking and making fun of these things and cinema sins and things like that. And now it's like if you are trashing a show, or if you aren't liking a show, or you're critiquing a show like I'm doing here, that you're just a hater. Your opinions don't matter, and just a hater, or a misogynist, whatever the thing they want to throw out. So I just want to say that real quick, because that's the problem too. And that is also a dangerous thing to do. Because when you start doing stuff like that, then there's no critique ever. It's very much like the reviewer in Birdman, when she's just like, I'm going to write a horrible review of your play. I haven't seen your play, but I'm going to write a horrible review of your play. So that's basically what the Man Babies are doing. I haven't seen this thing. I'm not going to even give this thing a chance. I'm just going to rip it apart, even though I've never actually watched an episode. And that's stupid. But at the same time, it just goes with like, man, you know what? I have an opinion now, and you have to hear it. That's Twitter to a T. And it's like, I want to let you know that I have an opinion, much like I'm doing right now. But I have a YouTube show, and you don't, so that's okay. But anyway, I'm just rambling now, guys. Anyway, guys, sorry for the ramble. I do that sometimes. It's what I do. I'm a rambler. I'm a rambling man. Anyway, guys, cool. I just want to give a little thing for the channel today. Maybe we'll have some more on here. Maybe I'll get back to the other stories. Maybe we'll do something with Anna on here or something like that. I actually might bring her in for the next video, because we talk about some stuff, relationship, that I think would be relevant to hear her side of things at that time with the story. Because you've heard a lot of my part of the story, so I might tie that in. Get her in there. Get her in there. Get her on this channel. She was on the Fruit Morbius review, at least. Oh, Morbius. Morbin time. All right, guys, cool. I am going to get off of here now and shut the hell up. So check out She-Hulk for a couple laughs and some cringe stuff here and there. And I want to say right now, as a red-blooded, straight male American, I had no problem with the twerking. It was silly, but I'm never going to complain about attractive women shaking their ass. What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. It's a simple moment. It was an after credit scene. Who cares? But there's so many people who have blown up about that whole thing. I'm like, that is the least of the problems. That is the least worst. I had no problems with that whatsoever. It's like, okay, that was silly, but whatever. It was funny. That was okay. I didn't really have a problem with that. So anyway, wrapping up. Thanks for tuning in.